We back. It's a good day. It's a good day. Y'all know what's going down. Before we get into everything, we're joined by my boy DJ alongside Alec. Another episode 6,300. Thank y'all for tuning in. Like, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff for us. Thanks for all the support. We're going crazy on IG. We're going crazy on Twitter. All right, and first talk we gotta get to is this Clippers series. The Clippers, the bums, the frauds, or whatever you want to call them, blew a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference semifinals. It has now been 50 years since they made conference finals. They had everything lined up perfectly. All the coaches, Doc Rivers, Ty Lue, what's his name? Sam Cassell, all these guys on the staff. Kawhi Leonard, PG, my boy PG. We gonna talk to you. We're going to talk to you.
He's still your boy?
Yeah, yes. And we're going to talk about that as well. Okay. All those guys there, it's all lined up. Legacy over whatever they said. All this other stuff. All this focus about getting to the finals. And they didn't get to the conference finals. 50 years they got there and add another notch to that. And they still not got there this year as they blew a 3-1 lead. So what the fuck? What? How y'all feel about the Clippers and their fraudulence that we just witnessed yesterday?
Go for it, DJ.
I don't even know where to start, man. That's I think let's go to what you said. They kind of made it to where the stars aligned. It was supposed to be destiny. Right. It was supposed to happen. It was supposed to be the Clippers year. That's all you heard from analysts picking the Clippers, all that stuff. But yeah. I mean, again, where do you start? Because
there's so many ways.
There's so many things.
Well, let me help you out. Let's start with the main two. Let's start with Kawhi and PG. They came together this year with it seemed to be full intentions of making the Clippers a championship roster. Them joining Doc in LA seemed like a match made in heaven for all the pieces you would need for a championship roster and to go and get to the top, which is a place they are unfamiliar with and have yet to get to. And they had all the pieces there. Last year, the Clippers, with the young core that they had, won like 2 games against the Warriors in the playoffs, and the whole world went crazy. It's like, they can win 2 games without anybody, add Kawhi and PG, and they're the best in the league. So all year long, as you were talking about, everybody said, this is the best team in the league. And regardless of what we saw from everybody else, people stuck to that all season long. Even as they struggled in the playoffs, people stuck to that. Oh, once Kawhi gets going, or once PG gets going, they never got going. So start with Kawhi and PG and how you feel about their performance in the playoffs.
I think it was important that you noted they were a playoff team before they brought in Kawhi and PG. They already had a foundation. Again, the coaching staff is phenomenal. Like you just named 3 coaches that deserve to be head coaches in the league.
Right.
With Kawhi and PG, the load management during the season, there wasn't always a good week or 2-week stretch where we saw the team in their full rotations, all healthy at one point. But yet and still, it was always wait till the playoffs, wait until, everyone was waiting Lakers, Clippers. But, I mean, even the rest of the team was constructed to be able to go small, to go big, to play fast, to play slow. So there's not really excuses or reasons that I can find or you can find to kind of, let them off the hook. There's not really anything you can say except they dropped the ball. Like they failed.
Yeah. Big time. I'll talk about it.
100%. I think what you brought up, DJ, was very important. They didn't respect the regular season at all. Like they treated it like they're just going through the motions. We just have to get to the playoffs and then we'll turn it on. Like you can't flip a switch on your season like that. Like it's important to build chemistry, which this team really didn't have.
And Paul George even mentioned that they
No. I'm not giving him that. I love PG. We heard the cop out he tried to make in the after the game. Dr. Rick the same thing about chemistry issues.
Yeah.
If you look at the team that's in the same building, the Lakers, our team don't have a lot of chemistry either. There's a whole lot of new faces in here as well.
But they built the chemistry. They built the chemistry, though.
That's the point. Why couldn't what I'm trying to say is the Clippers had all you to build that chemistry as well. There are other teams that are new first year teams that's just come together. They're in the same spot. Lakers as best example. So to say, oh, we had chemistry issues, other teams found ways to work it out with less talent.
And that's my point, that they didn't respect the process at all.
Right.
They had that opportunity and they didn't respect it. You mentioned too about Doc Rivers or the coaching staff being really good. This is the third time that Doc Rivers has blown a 3-1 lead, and no other coach has done that too. So you can place some blame on him as well. I mean, he didn't have these guys ready and playing at a championship level. Even before this series, like we saw how they struggled with Dallas when it was pretty much just Luka. Porzingis didn't do that series. Exactly. This whole time it was like it just wait on the Lakers-Clippers series, but they had to get there first. And as we see, they didn't do it. So there was a lot of expectations. Like you said, Garrett, Paul George was copping pleas in the press conference, saying that this wasn't a championship or bust year. It clearly was.
I can pull up the article of Paul George talking about it's championship or now. And he said this in June. This wasn't when he joined. This was June.
Right.
This was June before they go into the bubble. So I don't know what Paul George is talking about if he just chooses to have selective memory, because this is not the first time he's gone to the post-game presser and left us all like, I don't know what, you know what I mean?
I was surprised he didn't come out with the ice on his shoulder and everything again.
Oh my God. Bro, like as Paul George's only fan, it seems like that's left. I talked about it. DJ, you watched. I was on Twitch last night and talked a whole lot, ranted about all the stuff that was going on. And as a Paul George fan, still, it's very frustrating seeing that he refuses to take accountability. It's been like his whole career. Whenever something happens, oh, it's somebody else's fault. Oh, it's somebody else's fault. Oh, it might be my fault, but I'm hurt, so don't put all pressure on me.
We're just like downplaying it in general, like, oh, we got time. Like,
no, bro.
We can handle this later, especially with the Clippers. Like, PG and Kawhi can leave next season.
Right.
Yeah, after next season, yeah.
Marcus Morris is a free agent now. Like,
there's no time. It's go now. Plus, as I mentioned before, I mentioned to you, DJ, teams are getting healthier. The Warriors come back next year. Right. Other teams have another year of experience. Right. So with all these other teams figuring things out, you can't wait and say, oh, we have time to figure things out. I know you guys have these two all-world athletes, but other guys are in the league show that they can compete with y'all and hang. Right. So you got to go and take advantage of every opportunity that's presented in front of you, and they refuse to do that. So, it's very
It's a historic choke job, by the way, too.
It's a historic
blowing the 3-1 lead.
It's probably the worst at the top of the head right now. I can't think of anything else that's as bad as this one.
Before we get to going back to what you said, Garrett, about how teams are healthy and teams are ready and teams are going to compete. The Nuggets are a 3 seed for a reason. They weren't going into this lying over and saying, "Oh yeah, Lakers, Clippers."
Hey, hold on.
We'll definitely get to the Nuggets. Too,
I want to give them their praise.
See, I just want to make
sure. However, we gotta kill these boys a little bit more.
Yeah, apply the pressure.
Apply pressure. So my boy Jay Boogie, he said send them boys to the IE. He says them being in LA is disrespectful, bro. We can't have them out here looking like this. They LA stepchild for a reason. Like it's unacceptable for them to be as boisterous as they've been. Kawhi came out.
That's what I want to talk about too.
Kawhi talked about as soon as he got signed, the commercials, the new king is here. This is my city. You can't say that with LeBron here. Like, Alec, we hate LeBron. We ain't that crazy. We're not that crazy. This man said, this is our city. They had banners all over the place, and they have more banners and billboards up than they have in the arena themselves. So you can't be having all these billboards talking about where we're taking over and we care about winning more than this and winning over this and legacy over wherever the billboard said.
We didn't even like it when LeBron first came and he had the King of LA.
Them too. Either way, yes, correct. But with the Clippers, them being as just out loud as they were, arrogant, yes, all of that. For them to be that and so loud with it all year long,
Right.
Shit, even in the bubble, they were mocking teams, joking with teams. 1, 2, 3 Cancun to the.
Beverly, bro. We could go 30 minutes sometime.
They're boisterous every step of the way and got humbled in the worst way possible. So you reap what you sow, and this is literally that. So yeah, man, it's a bad look for them, and I'm loving it all.
Yeah. They're taking all the heat, rightfully so. I mean, we will give some praise to the Nuggets, I'm sure, in a few minutes, but like you said, just how out front they were about how they were going to be the champions. They were acting as if they'd won something, and the only one who has is Kawhi. No one else on that team besides Doc Rivers.
I was going to bring that up later on too. I might be living in the moment, but I'm going to ask this anyways.
Okay.
Is Kawhi as good as we say he is? And I ask that because it's when he won that Spurs championship, he was on the Spurs with all those boys on the Spurs. When he won with the Raptors, he fell into a perfect situation when KD got hurt, when Clay got hurt. Steph was by himself pretty much out there, and they fought and tried to do what they could, but the Raptors clearly had just because of health had a better squad and won because of it. Him just taking advantage of opportunity, does that make him better, or does that make him elite, or is he just again taking advantage?
Well, I have to say, like, you have to play who's in front of you. I think in every situation, like, we've seen injuries, like where Steph and Clay and Draymond got their first ring when Kyrie was out and Kevin Love was out.
I guess the next season, Kawhi himself got hurt. So
I guess what I'm trying to say, even in that, is that yes, the Warriors, when they played the Cavs, guys got hurt, but even throughout the season, they proved they were the best in the league.
Yeah.
Why we load managers and stuff all year long? We really don't know who this guy is. Yes, he has flashes, and we see he's a great defender, and he can dominate the mid range and can score at times, and on all various levels of the court. But when it comes to a full 82 and showing the best player in the league, and all of that comes with that, he hasn't fully proven that to me. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, I acknowledge it because you have to acknowledge the run he had last year and the success he's had so far. But when you kind of take a step back and look further into what came to that success, other guy, he had a lot easier of a path than many other guys have. And for us to consider him best in the world, like undisputed, some people may say, it seems very naive. So that's why I wanted to throw that question out there.
I felt it was a little naive. I think that's a good word for it because, yes, he's a 2-time Finals MVP, but that's without context. Like you said, Spurs were the Spurs. He joined a Raptors team that had been to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think, 2 out of the last 3 seasons before that.
They just kept running LeBron.
Right. And so for people to try to say, like, oh, he doesn't have anything left to prove, he's the best. I mean, this was his first time being the leader on the court in the locker room. You know, like, this was his team.
Yeah. Because it's on Lowry and stuff on the Raptors.
Lowry was the leader of that team, the heart and soul. You had the whole Spurs organization, Pop, Tim Duncan, Manu, Tony Parker, the other veterans. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I never ever took it as Kawhi was the best player in the league. I thought he was the best player in the playoffs last year. Like, there's no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But objectively speaking, you can't say that when Kevin Durant is out the whole season. You can't say that when LeBron misses 20 games this season before. You know what I mean? You can't say that when, Anthony Davis is tic-tac fouls, missing games here or there or whatever, because, again, Kawhi didn't put the full body of work together.
Yeah.
And again, same with Giannis. Great regular season.
Right.
Postseason success is not anywhere near that level.
Right. And that's a little different too, because Giannis is a guy who doesn't want to take nights off. Like, he wants to play every game, all 82.
Correct.
And that's the difference between him and Kawhi. Like, Kawhi, as great as he is, he hasn't really respected the regular season to this point. Like, he's load managed most of his career, and it seemed like we as fans had kind of felt like he earned that right just because he had won 2 championships and he had 2 Finals MVPs. Right. But it's seeming now maybe you should put a little bit more emphasis on the regular season as well too.
Absolutely.
And in any other sport, the greatest ability is availability. You know what I mean? That's what proves greatness is your consistency over a period of time. Kawhi could look at Doc and be like, I don't know if I'm feeling 100% tonight. All right, you're good. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think they only played like 10, 12 games, like full all season. So
yeah. So it's time to hold him accountable as well. It's time for us to, as we go forward now. Hey, I know we say you're the best. It's time for you to prove it. You're still only 29. You still got legs on you. I know they batted up a little bit because you've had injuries, but you're still young enough that you have years ahead where you can redeem yourself and prove us wrong. So you need to step up heavily.
Do you think Kawhi cares? Like, I think he's a very different person than a lot of people. Like, I really do not think he cares that much about like his personal legacy, like that kind of thing. Like, he's kind of like a clock in, clock out kind of dude.
I don't think he cares about his legacy, but he cares about winning. So
exactly. Yeah.
So when it's time to win now, and I think he's gonna put the effort in, which will also at the same time just happen to also appease the things we're asking for as well. So
let me ask you this, Alec, because LeBron was self-proclaimed, I want to be the best all time. I want to be the best in the league. Kevin Durant, not as much, but still their expectations are a little different. So when they lose in the playoffs, they're held to a different standard. That's why it's a little bit of an interesting conversation for me with Kawhi, because like you said, he's never been outspoken in terms of. And
I think that's why. I think that's why he doesn't catch as much heat, because he doesn't talk about himself a lot.
Right.
He's a very like quiet dude. And so maybe deep down he does care, but he doesn't outwardly express it.
So now this is a time to kind of put that microscope on him and say, like, okay, what's up? Like,
yeah. I'm with you.
Alec, I told you when Luka hit the buzzer beater that we need to hold Kawhi more accountable. And
I just told you why we don't, though.
I and you say it then, you say it now as well, and I hear both times. I'm just saying we continue to see examples of not wanting to put full blame on Kawhi. Even in this instance,
Kawhi, I blame him for that Game 7 performance. Was atrocious.
For sure. But even when people are saying that today, I'm watching a lot of sports people talk about it right now. There's a lot of hate on Kawhi, but at the same time it goes, oh, but the bench was trash. Oh, but PG was trash too, and all of that. When LeBron is trash, when Giannis is trash, or whoever, they don't also turn the attention to everybody else as well. They say LeBron was trash regardless of who was next to him. So that's why I was saying the same thing when we had Luka in that buzzer beater last series. I was like, I don't care what the call was. I don't care who's next to him. I said, Kawhi, if you're that dog, you get in front of Luka and you stop him. And just trying to hold him accountable and keep that same energy as you guys are alluding to all the way through. So, yes, now I hope more energy. People are slowly starting to do that more, which is great to see. And if he wants to be in that discussion, that's what comes with it. So I hope he's up for it going forward. Now for his teammate, Paul George, again, as we mentioned, he's also been someone who was the leader of a couple of teams. He had those Pacers squads for a couple of years where he kept running to LeBron. But had LeBron not been there, he might have had a ring or two. Those squads were pretty good.
Perhaps
this Thunder squad he was on last year, they had their own role.
Be the guy.
Right. But they choked yet again. They faced against another opponent that got in their way, and bye. So
the year before that too, PG had a horrible performance against the Jazz.
That too.
Correct.
So he's now had multiple times where he has come up short in the playoffs, and it's beyond the point now where enough is enough. You get one or two where it's like, okay, I could see you ran to LeBron, and and LeBron that's GOAT mode right there. There's nothing you can do. The Jazz, there's no reason. You got to be by Joe Ingles. No excuse. That's strike one. That's strike one. Last year, strike two, Dame Lillard. You and Russ is another person. He's not in this series, but if he was, it was the same thing. It's time for Russ to step up because y'all keep losing in the first round or second round, and we can't have it. But with PG, year after year now, 3 straight years at least of getting beat in the most embarrassing way. It's like, bro, it's time to step up. So whatever issues he wants to point out about shoulders and things, sit your ass down for a minute, whatever is wrong, and when you come back next year, you got to fix it. Because if not, you're gonna start getting. You're no longer to be. We're not even gonna bother mentioning you in the MVP discussion no more. You were third in the discussion last year. Next time it comes up, we're not even gonna look your way. So
there's no excuse for him, man. There's no excuse. The Clippers gave up 6 total first-round picks.
They gave up a lot. Yeah.
To bring him over. They gave up another first-round pick for Marcus Morris. There's no excuse. There's no more time for Paul George, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
There's been many times where he's been in the position to be in the driver's seat, like he wants to say the Clippers were stealing.
Right.
You know, it's just continually finds ways to try to buy himself time or buy himself a little more leeway. But the fact that the Clippers gave up so much for him, they needed that immediate return.
For sure.
Yeah.
Even then, Western Conference Finals, if they got bounced by the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, that's still a failure in terms of the grand scheme of what the Clippers are trying to do.
Yeah.
But that's still way exponentially better than you getting bounced in the second round, especially how they got bounced.
Yeah. Yeah, so an epic failure there. But there's
no way around it.
I think with Paul George, it's all up here, man.
Yeah.
It's all because we see the talent. We've seen him on that Pacers team as a young dude, like you said, going toe-to-toe with LeBron. He's been in opportunities where, like you said, he was an MVP candidate a couple years back. He's touted as one of the best, maybe second best to Kawhi as far as two-way players in the league.
Right.
The talent's there. We know he's capable of getting 35, 5 and 5. But continuously in the playoffs, he comes up short. And then he ends up making excuses, and he ends up talking, and he psychs himself out. Maybe, I don't know. He talked about how the bubble was getting to him this season in the playoffs, but it seems to be mental for Paul George because we've seen the talent, but some guys aren't built for it. Like we see that corny LeBron commercial where he's talking about we're built different, but some guys just really are not built for the lights like this.
Right.
So maybe Paul George is one of those.
Yeah, it's a sad thing that we seem to have to be accepting right now, at least for me as a fan of his. So yeah,
I like Paul George. He's one of the most like skilled players in the league. One of the nicest players to just watch him go to work.
Right.
But maybe this is just a moment in time where we have to switch the lens on how we view him, or switch the conversation.
Right.
Maybe he's better off being the second or third option, where he's not. You know what I mean? Where he's not brought in to be this guy. Maybe maybe that might work.
Here's the thing, though, DJ. He was brought in to be a second.
He was a second option, yeah.
That's third option, and still didn't work.
An indictment on him, but I'm just saying maybe the conversation really does need to be switched. There's no more room for it to be like, all right, PG, we need da-da-da, you know?
Got it. Understood. Well, I would talk about other options. Another place I want to turn with this team is that third option, which was that bench, that 6 man that they had, whether it was Lou Will or Pat Beverly or Montrez, all of them underperformed in this series. Montrez and Lou Will combined for like 40 a night in the regular season. Combined for half of that in the playoffs. They got to the bubble. They were they underperformed the whole way through. It seemed to be a comfort thing. It seemed to be they expected to be there, they expected to win, and they were like, I can ease up because we're the Clippers, we're gonna get there. But it didn't end up actually coming to fruition. So, I mean, Lou Will was going to the strip club and stuff, and during while in the bubble, just real comfortable, as if I can go and do this and come back and we'll be just fine. And when it's time to buckle down and really focus and start gearing up for a championship run. So they expose themselves, and Lou Will and Pat Bev, if I think correct, they getting up there in age, correct?
Yeah. Especially Lou Will. I mean, he still plays like a young dude, but he's like 35, 36. Right. Like that.
Well, that or just contract-wise, I think they're all up or could be up in the near future. So,
I just checked. They're 32 and 33.
Hey, okay, that's not too bad.
I say that's not bad. That's not bad.
I look at this team though and seeing how they performed in the bubble and things. Do you bring them back, or how do you handle this roster going forward?
Oof. That's interesting. Because I was gonna say too, I feel like Kawhi might regret this decision to join this team just because of the personalities on it. Like, as I was saying, they're acting like they won something before and just kind of diva-like and like they had built a solid chemistry the year before, like you said, where they won 2 games against the Warriors.
Right.
And they thought just plugging Kawhi and PG in would take them over the hump. But adding those guys, like you said, it was kind of just like they relaxed and were like, we're going to get there anyway, so we're going to take our foot off the gas. I think maybe they have to look at restructuring the roster a little bit to where guys aren't just all bark and no bite. Like Patrick Beverley does a lot of talking, but on the floor he wasn't very impactful. Montrez, same thing. He wasn't very impactful
on either end of the court.
Exactly. And he won 6th Man of the Year. That's a regular season award, though. He was not the 6th Man of the Year.
Yeah.
So,
is it safe to say the Clippers are the least likable team in the NBA even before this series?
Yes, but it's their own doing, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the point I was saying.
Another question I want to ask too, though, as we bring this up, with Montrez, we have now seen 2 teams with somewhat of a small ball lineup with the Clippers, with Montrez as their big man, and the Rockets with PJ Tucker and Covington, whoever they play as their bigs. Did small ball lineups die in the bubble just now, or are they still a thing?
I think the concept of it when it comes to playoff basketball is that conversation is definitely going to be changed, because regular season wise, analytic basketball, you see it taking over even how the Bucks play, how people want to spread the floor, put 4 shooters on at least, people that could put the ball, kick, all that stuff. But in terms of playoff value, it's getting exposed, because if you have a big man that you can rely upon, that's making a world of difference. They don't have to be superstar level like Jokic. Right. I think even if the Clippers made it to the next series, you would see the difference when they have Dwight Howard on the floor, JaVale, versus going up against Montrez and Zubac. Because Zubac is a pretty one-dimensional player at this point. Yes, he's developing, but I mean, it's tough to say that that's going to be successful if you don't have the exact right players on the court.
Right.
And they have to execute for that to be successful.
Yeah, I think small ball works when you have like a very versatile 4. So like it's working really well for the Lakers when they have to go small versus the Rockets matchup wise, because you plug AD in at the 5, which he can already play the 5.
Yeah.
Right. You plug him in at the 5. He's a really talented 4 who can pass out of the post and all that. So
I don't count that as small ball though. Same with the Bucks. Like when you have someone that's still 7 foot, even if you drop him down to the center spot, he's still 7 foot. I mean, having an all 6, 7 and under type lineup and running it out on the court and expecting to go have a deep run.
Because Montrez was what, 6'9"?
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that's really the only like version of small ball that I think works, where you have like a 4 that steps into that 5 spot and everyone else is small. Because everyone else on
the Lakers pickup of Markieff Morris, because they could really go small ball and put Markieff at the 5. Whereas with the Clippers, I guess you could put the other Morris twin at the 5, but who's filling in and taking responsibility for what they'll be lacking once Montrez is off the court?
Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting. So gotta look at that going forward. To be honest, as I think out loud immediately, I think the other series might kind of disprove that as well. A guy like Bam Adebayo, who I don't think he's a 7-footer, but he's undersized center, as well as Daniel Tyson and other guys. Robert Wood, I think, is like 6'10" for the Celtics as well. Those other guys are undersized, but still play that center position better than most right now. So I don't think it's fully dead, but it's changing where you can't drop a small forward to the center spot and make him work. If you have a small center like a Bam or somebody who's a true center guy, but just has to be a little bit shorter than most, it'll work. But trying to just drop everybody down a little bit and trying to just running the team to death, I think that's type of basketball, the Rockets type small ball, may be dying off shortly.
Draymond made a really good point on Inside the NBA. He said if the Rockets won the series against the Lakers, that would have killed the value of the traditional big man.
Right.
In terms of agency, the trade market, all of that stuff. And that's a very valid point. But, that has to be executed, and it didn't end up working out. So I think this goes back into what we're talking about, to where small ball might work, but it has to be done the right way, and you have to hit the shots.
And it works to a point, but it has a ceiling as well.
Exactly.
Like it worked really well in the regular season as well, but once you're getting to the playoffs and teams are game planning for you for a 7-game series, seeing you every other night. Yeah. So
I think we've done. I mean, it's never going to be enough, but at least for this episode, we've talked enough Clippers. Now, if we turn to this next series, though,